Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Black Talk platform, where I am your host, Dr. Deborah D. Jenkins, and I am doing a very special edition tonight. It is the regular edition, but it is a special day because it is International Women's Day. And I have Miss Tangie Henry here, who is a registered nurse practitioner. She's out of the state of Georgia, and she is my guest tonight. And we are talking about a subject that is quite dear to both of us. And we believe the awareness should be raised around it for all of you. If you're not already passionate about thinking about the emotional trauma that Black women specifically experience. And because we have this aura about us of strength, guess what? We rarely have an opportunity on a daily basis or even on a regular basis to consider the trauma that we are living through, not addressing, and that keeps piling up. And so this is the type of conversation Ms. Henry and I are going to have tonight, and we're hopeful to be able to move the needle towards having all of you, and let me just say this, it's not limited to women, but we are specifically talking about Black women because why? We are Black women and we are experts to some degree in this subject. So welcome, Tangie. Welcome to Black Talk platform.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. I'm excited as well. We are Twitter friends. We've just recently become Facebook friends. And so I love this even more. Let me tell you why. Because Twitter was my first foray into social media back in 2009, I believe. And I made such great connections, and they often have migrated over to Facebook for different reasons, but certainly it has been a good space for me to meet people. So I'm happy that you and I are connected. And what prompted me to reach out to Tangie, everyone, was she had posted, and I can't even remember specifically what the post was about, but it had to do with emotional trauma. And so I DM'd her and I said, well, are you doing any presentations? Are you doing any talks about emotional trauma, specifically as it relates to Black women? Because it is a subject that has to be discussed. We need to create spaces for us to have these conversations. And she said she hadn't. And I said, well, you know what? I want to dedicate a show to talking about it. And we scheduled it. And here we are this evening.
Here we
are. So come on in the room. You know how we do. I need everybody coming on in. But I'm going to prepare to share a little bit about Tangie from her website, which you will be able to go to yourselves in just a few minutes. Let me give you the background story on how she became known as Inspired Sister. So in April 2012, she made a decision that she wanted to get healthy once and for all. How many of you can identify with the once and for all part of that statement? Whether it was 2012 or 2020, it is once and for all. We want to get healthy. No more yo-yo dieting, no more restrictions, no more self-sabotaging behavior. I love that. Just a healthy lifestyle change, period. And this was a personal decision of Tangie's, but it was one made with the thought of the legacy that she wanted to create and the authenticity that she wanted to portray as Inspired Sister. She said, if I was going to encourage women to truly live on top of the world, I needed to fully represent that in my life as well. And that meant taking control of her physical health, teetering on high blood pressure. She knew as a nurse that she needed to prioritize her health. She was busy inspiring others. I understand. We are doing for others and ignoring us. But she was busy inspiring others. And after all, wasn't she the inspired sister?
Wasn't I inspired sister?
Fortunately, God was merciful and patient with her, loved her in her process, and commissioned her to start Healthy Sisters Rock, a health promotion movement dedicated to inspiring women to live healthy from the inside out. Healthy Sisters Sisters Rock is about so much more than physical fitness. She
Absolutely.
believes that true wellness lies in being whole emotionally and spiritually, as well as physically. And because of that, you will often hear her speak about the emotional and spiritual component of wellness because they can directly affect your physical outcome. I wanted to read all of that because I didn't know where to leave any out because I thought it was all important for me and the audience to know. And
Thank
so
you.
that was very moving, Tangie. I'm not crying, guys. I'm getting an allergy here, but Tangie, I love that. Inspired Sister, is it Rocks? Inspired.
So it's Healthy Sisters Rock, which is an arm of Inspire Sisters. So Inspire Sisters is the overall persona and the brand, but Healthy Sisters Rock was just born out of, because when I started Inspire Sister, I was doing a lot of, emotional and spiritual coaching and training and things like that. But how we're busy grinding and building and serving. And, I wasn't really taking care of my physical health. Like many Black women, it was important, but it wasn't a priority.
Right.
God just dropped Healthy Sisters Rock into my spirit, and it's been a great ride.
Awesome. No, no, no. I think it's wonderful because so often we as patients, right, we'll come to a hospital or we'll go to our doctor's office, and these are the people who are telling us to get ourselves together. But then we look at them and they're not necessarily together. So it sounds like you had that type of awakening about yourself. And, how can you really care for someone fully in the manner in which you all do without also taking care of yourselves?
Absolutely. And on a practical side, it's very easy to neglect yourself because of the demands of the position. So, and the fact that I don't do what I say doesn't mean that I can't help you get well. But for me, my personal conviction was like, I was like you, I felt like it was a contradiction. For me to tell you, it would be the same thing as me tell you that it's bad for you to smoke, but then you walk outside and you see me with a cigarette. And so, as it related to health and fitness and stuff, I felt like I needed to make a shift.
And I can definitely understand that. Let's talk a little bit about how you really got into addressing those emotional issues, because as a care provider, not a caretaker, but as a healthcare provider, your first order of business is to address what's physical. I mean, unless you're in
Mhm.
that arena of the psychiatric
Mhm.
only or primarily. How do you get to see, and how do you get to the point where, I'm seeing these patients who are presenting with physical issues, but they are also experiencing other things that are emotional and also spiritual in some regards, and maybe
Mhm.
not at work, but in general? How did you find yourself focusing on these emotional issues that your patients or those who you've come into contact with experience?
Yes, so it did stem from work because what I do is I work in obstetrics. And so in the field of obstetrics, obviously it's women, and I work in high risk arenas. And I would always say the woman, she would come in with a particular issue related to her pregnancy, sometimes related to her own personal health. But the more I got to care for her and talk with her, I would notice that she had some underlying emotional things going on. That sometimes fueled her decisions one way or the other as it related to her health. And as the more I spoke to her, the more I could see myself in her, the more that I could relate as a Black woman what it's like to have to make certain choices and decisions, just to show up, to be accepted, to make it. Sometimes we have to dim our lights, sometimes, just different things, microaggressions, all the things. And I just felt like I could relate to her because I am my sister, and So it really stemmed from me just working, just seeing like, if we were to prioritize ourselves better, we could make some better choices about how we move about our lives. So whether it would be whether we choose better options of what we eat or how we move our bodies, or whether we it's the relationships that we engage in, it's the jobs we take, it's different things like that. If we saw ourselves better, if we took care of ourselves better, we could make some better choices in our life.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you were able to tap into those things, because so often I can definitely tell you that when the doctors just focused almost completely on the pandemic, I was like, okay, fine. Because I knew that it was going to take a whole lot for me to just go and have a regular physical, get my new eyeglass prescription. I knew that those things were going to fall to the back of the line anyway. Why do
Mhm,
you think we prioritize everything and
mhm,
everybody
mhm,
before ourselves? It is, I think it's a it's at a critical height. And I don't know if it's about these little expressions like it's time for us to take off the superwoman complex.
mhm.
It's
It's
in
ingrained.
deeply ingrained in us. What do you think is the reason? How do we overcome that?
I wish I knew how we could overcome that. Conversations like this, obviously. But what I would say is that it definitely is ingrained because no matter, even, I'll just say this, it is what we learn
Mhm.
at home. It is what we see in the media. It is what we live on a daily basis. So if we think about it, and I'm not a historian, so please don't come for me, but if we think, we know in slavery days, those ladies were working in the fields, they would drop those babies, they would have a baby, and they would keep picking that cotton.
Yeah.
And so generations after generations, we learn that we just got to keep pushing.
Yeah.
Everyone, a lot of women just say, like, I don't have a choice. I just got to keep going. And so for me to stop and just really tap into how I'm feeling emotionally, a lot of women, I'm not just Black women, but a lot of women, we don't have emotional vocabulary for how we're feeling. If you ask somebody, say, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm okay. That's not a feeling. You know what I mean? It's like we don't have the emotional vocabulary for that. Um,
Mm.
we it's ingrained. We watched our mothers, we watch our grandmothers, we watch our aunts take care of business, keep on, take a lick and keep on pushing. And I know for me, I prided myself on being very resilient and being able to, go through some things and still come out on top.
Right. Yeah.
But what we don't think about is what it's costing us.
Right.
So, on the outside, it looks like we are rising to the top, but what it's doing to us emotionally, and why we can't connect with people, why we can't, why we have a string of broken relationships, why, our blood pressure is high, why we're overweight, different things
Right.
like that. It's because all of this, we've we've learned to just kind of, like you said, just put everything and everyone else ahead of ourselves and not take care of ourselves. And so when I'm trying to reach a woman, and trying to help her shift as it relates to her health, I remember, um, I had this conversation. I'll just say this real quick. So in the
Oh, you don't
morning,
have to rush. You don't have to rush.
okay, okay, good, okay, good. So in the morning, at work, I'm before work, I'm, getting myself together. I'm in the bathroom at the hospital, and because I'm doing my hair, it garners a lot of conversations. Black women in our hair, right? So it
Mhm.
garners a lot of conversations, and I get a lot. I used to be like with my headphones on and just doing my thing, get my mind ready for the day. But I started turning my music down because it would facilitate so many conversations. And so one woman came into me and she had a really short haircut. And she said, "Oh, I really like your hair. I wish I could wear mine like that." I said, "Girl, you can." You know what I'm saying? And you can wear your hair any way you want to. And she was
Mhm.
like, "No." She said, and she's looking in the mirror. She's like, "It's the medication." And I said, "Oh, okay." And she was like, um, I said, "Well, you need your medication. I was like, because if you don't take your medication, then it's not gonna matter what your hair look like, right? And she
Mhm.
said, I guess I'm just tired. And I said, tired. That is a famous word for us Black women. I said, we often, this is a lady I've never met. I said, we often use the word tired to hide other things. And she said, and then she began to tell me her medical history, how she not in stage, but stage 4 kidney disease. And she was on this medication, was making her hair fall out. And she just was tired of it. And that is a common sentiment in general, that we're tired. And I said, well, listen, I said, this is how I reach women. I said, well, if you feel like you're tired for you, I said, what about your children? Because we will do anything for our children, right?
Yeah,
We might not take care of we might not take our medication for us. We might skip a few meals or appointments, but we're gonna take care of them kids, right? And
absolutely.
I said, so what about? I said, what about your kids? She said, I told them I was gonna keep trying. I said, I'm gonna need you to show up for your kids. I said, and then after you think about showing up for your kids, I want you to show up for you. I said, because you're here, you deserve to be here. I said, and don't worry about this hair, girl. I said, you can buy you some hair. I said, but we need you here living. And she's
Mm,
like, okay. And so
wow.
I see her every morning, and every morning she says, I'm still here. I said, you still here,
Oh, that
you
is
know?
wonderful. And I think that her having that conversation with you was perhaps one of the few that she's that able to be that transparent, even in saying, I'm tired. You know,
Yes,
for the
yes.
treatment that you're giving her, you're probably expecting that physically she would be tired, but that's not what she was talking about.
Mm-mm,
She was just
mm-mm.
talking about overall. And you had a door open where you were able to walk through and truly inspire the sister, right? You were able to get her to be in a place of hopefulness. And I don't know if we are able to always do that,
Yeah.
find the hope. And I tell you, when you told her to stay around or do it, keep doing it for her children, and then find a place to do it for herself. I can be honest. I have two children. My sister is here, as she always is, and she's saying hi to us. That's Juanita
Hi.
Presley, and my good friend, also from Twitter first days,
Mhm.
Rodney Wigton is here. I don't know if you two are
Yeah.
connected over there, but they're the ones here and talking to us tonight. But I can say, and my sister would definitely affirm this. My children, I call them my one and my two. I have, and you would think that they're little. My son, my oldest, will be 23 in July, and my youngest just turned 18 last month. And so I have literally been that mother. I've been that black. I'm a black mama. It makes me upset when they call me mom because I think of other women, and
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
there is a culture around mama. And I keep trying to tell these people that, but they are so New York and I'm so Alabama. I'm just like, I'm not a mom. I am a mama. Okay, but
Mhm,
anyway, it
mhm,
is it manifests itself in the way I have raised them, how I have cared for them, have nurtured them, gotten them out of this situation, that situation, whatever. And now the baby's 18. So
mhm,
now it's time for me to do what you told her. I'm
mhm,
not sick with stage 4 kidney disease or any of those things,
mhm,
but
mhm.
now when is it going to be Deborah's time? And I don't want to find myself lost because she's about to graduate high school. So it's a critical thing for us to do, not only for ourselves, but also for them, for our
Mhm,
children, right? That
mhm.
we can be emotionally balanced so as to give them an opportunity to do the same. Would you like to share about that before we move on to the next question? In your opinion, it's opinion. We're not giving medical advice, everybody. We are
Right.
having a conversation that is
Right.
necessary.
Yeah, I love what you said though. You said that that you want to give a model that for your kids, right? So that's the even if you don't say anything to them about emotional health, you are teaching them how to handle things. When you're what a lot of times, because we're not able to, like you talked about the other lady, we're not able to be vulnerable, or we don't feel like we can be vulnerable with other people. So you show up as strong mama. Mama flipped
Yep.
the school bus over for them, right?
Right.
But they need to see that mama has some weaknesses, mom have some
Vulnerabilities.
vulnerabilities,
Mhm.
because what you're modeling to them is that, you know, you they don't have they always have to be strong. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, is that where do we get that from? That's where we learned it. You
Yeah.
know, my
Yeah.
mother was a single mom and she handled business. And that's, you know, and it was, I made an inner vow, and that's what I was going to do, you know, that no matter what, I was going to handle things. So I say that to say is that the greatest gift you can give them is to show them some emotional vulnerability, give them emotional vocabulary, and show them that, you know, yeah, mom hurts, mom tired, set boundaries around different things so that they can say, well, you know, mom, you always do. It's like, well, no, mom's not doing it today.
Right.
And
And
that's
then
the
you
gift to them.
if I could have met you like 8 years ago or something like that, that would have been so perfect. But let me tell you, my daughter, she's like, and then this was just like a month ago. She was like, have you ever considered that I don't want to always strive for excellence? I raised them with
Mm,
that. I
mm,
raised them with that. But
uh-huh.
I also raised them um to be able to say what she said to me,
Mhm. Yes,
without
yes,
getting a
yes.
backhand slap. I never did
Right.
that. I let them have freedom of voice,
Mhm,
within
mhm.
respectful boundaries, of
Sure.
course. But that's how she feels. And had I been a little bit more vulnerable in front of them, maybe she would have understood that she didn't always have to strive for excellence, that
Mhm,
she could let her proverbial hair down.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
So I accept my failures. I do.
I don't think it's a failure. I think it's all part of the lessons that we learn. Absolutely.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And look, I she's graduating in June. I'm planning my vacation without them, right?
Good for
Without them.
you.
My
Yes.
husband can come, but they cannot come, right? They
Good for
cannot come.
you. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And you'll have to check back to see if I actually did it. Juanita
Okay.
knows.
All
I
right. I
talk a
will.
lot of game. I do, but it's a new place that I'm going to be in. Right, once she graduates, I will be in a new space, and so it
Mhm,
really is time for me to consider how do I um, be a healthy, inspired sister.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
do I make sure that not having to constantly take care of two people other than
Mhm.
myself, that I'm able to better take care of me. And that's a real
Absolutely.
discussion.
Absolutely. So you can have like a great quality of life. So when you're on that vacation, that you're not having to buy a double seat, that you
Right,
can walk every place that you need to go, that you don't always have to take 1,500 breaks, that you can enjoy yourself. You know what I mean?
right. I don't have
That's
to
that's
give it to anybody
that's
else.
vacation.
And I've not had those. We've had family vacations, but me vacations, no. So that will be something new to experience.
That'd be beautiful.
I'm loving this conversation because I think for me, just having the conversation girl to girl with you is
Mhm.
helpful, because what I want the audience to understand is that we need this type of dialogue. We
Absolutely.
need to create space for us to just start wherever
Mhm.
and include in that conversation whatever needs to be included.
Mhm.
And I appreciate
Safely.
that.
Absolutely safely. You know?
Safely, without repercussions or
Mhm.
feeling as if, girl, did you know Deborah and Tangie were talking last night and they were saying all kind of stuff? Did you hear
Mhm.
this part though? That's
Right.
not what we're talking about, because we're already accustomed to those type of spaces, right? We're
Right.
talking about healing, intentional
Yes.
spaces for us to get some healing in there. And you actually touched on a really great point. But and when you were talking about how historically we've seen our moms, we've seen
Mhm.
our nanas, for those of us who call grandmas nanas, and
Mhm.
the greats and the great great greats, and all the way back to slavery and even back to Africa. We see even pictures today. When I would go to my hair braiding store, shop, salon, my hair braider, she would be doing my hair with her baby swung around her back, attached to her back
Mhm.
in a sling. And that's not abuse in any way. That is
No.
culture, that is
Mhm.
custom. And guess
Mhm.
what? It's necessary for
Mhm.
her to be able to take
Yes.
care of herself and her
Yes.
family. It's necessary that her baby be right there,
Mhm.
excuse me, while she is taking care of business for the
Right.
family. And so we're so accustomed to those things.
Mhm.
And rarely do we have opportunity in our work, in our workplaces, in the home, or anywhere for us to just relax. In the church, we are all over the
Yes.
place doing
Yes.
this, doing that. And
Mhm.
when we're sitting down, it's typically because the Lord has set us down because of our health or something. You know, it's not because we don't want to be all over the place. So we have to change how we see spending our time, right?
Mhm.
Our
Yes.
time has to be so devoted to wellness, I
Yeah.
believe. And
Yeah.
don't let me put words into your mouth.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. And like there's I'm not sure if if you're familiar with the nap ministry,
Mm-mm.
but you got to
No,
check
tell
her
me
out.
about it. Sounds
Yes.
like something I might need.
You do one. I think it's Trisha. Please don't. Please, I hope I'm saying it right. But she has the nap ministry, and her whole mantra is "Rest is a revolution," and that rest is reparations for slavery.
Whew,
So
wow,
I went to a couple of her events, and it's just like the whole premise is allowing you to come to a place and take a nap. So
hmm,
the idea is that rest is revolutionary. It's so foreign to us. It's like sometimes we almost get offended when people say, "Girl, you need to sit down." I'm like, sit down. I got stuff to do. If I don't do it, it ain't gonna get done. Ain't nobody go, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And on some level that is true, but I think that we have to cultivate um, a spirit of rest in it and saying, even if I don't do it and it don't get done, it's kind of okay.
It's
You
kind of,
know,
yeah,
sometimes it's just okay because we don't prioritize rest because part of it is mindset that again, if we don't do it, it won't get done. But also part of it is just culture. Like we don't know. Like I was thinking about your hair braider. It's honorable, right? That she is still doing taking care of her business as well as taking care of her baby. But wouldn't it be great if she could just set her hours, and just say, I'm only working from 8 to 12, and after that time, I'm with my baby the rest of the day, or something like that. But
absolutely.
that would be like, what? It's like it's all it's it's mindset. It's a
Mindset.
whole I can't get my words together, but it's something we just would have to work on, and make it a priority because we deserve that. Like we deserve that.
We do. And even with you saying we deserve it, my brain went from left to right, trying to fill in the spaces that affirm what you said. And we shouldn't have to affirm anything. We should
Right.
just simply accept that we deserve rest. We deserve to be able to address a task only and
Mm-hmm.
then take care of ourselves and our family. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't, that's a part of the problem. We don't believe that we deserve it. We don't
Right. We
believe that.
don't believe it. Part of it's societal, but it also is things we learn behind closed doors. You know what I mean? And not in a bad way. But again, what we saw modeled before us, told us that girl, if you don't get out there and get this bag, then you're not gonna get it. Don't trust nobody else. Don't look for nobody else because you got to get it for yourself. And
Yeah.
a lot of the messages that we're receiving through social media, and it's like almost heresy when you say, actually, I'm not working two jobs. Actually, I'm not grinding all night.
Right,
Actually,
right.
I'm
Like
saying
what?
I am team sleep.
Right, right. No,
I
you're
love
right.
that, you know.
And,
And
and you're right. So what should be normal has become somewhat of a stepsister, a stepson, or a
Mhm,
stepdaughter to
mhm,
us because everybody is hustling, right?
mhm,
Trying
mhm.
to make the what is it? The bag, as you said, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Or trying to get to the next level. So when is there time for rest?
Right.
What I have been seeing and I like in social media lately is that people are telling folks, don't quit your job to build your business. Keep
Yes.
working. I mean, and that's helpful because if you're grinding with the hustle or the side hustle, but you decide, well, I did really well this month. I can quit my job next month, but can you really? And
Right.
so I'm happy that people are prioritizing taking care of themselves first, and then finding balance between all that they're doing and their jobs, which are many are very demanding, and then
Mhm.
working on the job on the business on the side, and finding specific hours. I think it's really incredible when we just work ourselves till we're tired, and then we're not able to enjoy what we've been blessed to achieve in those
Absolutely.
really manic hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you said you came to Twitter 2009. I came about that time too, but my first foray into social media was MySpace.
Oh, I forgot all about MySpace. I did a little
Yes.
dabbling over there.
MySpace and then in Twitter. But I say that to say is that during that time specifically, I was starting to build Inspire System. And so all the messages were team no sleep, sleep when you dead, hustle, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
was interesting, what I've later found out is that the people that were pushing these messages, they were working jobs.
Wow.
But they were making it sound like, entrepreneur, if you still working another job, then you're not a real entrepreneur. If you're not making six figures, if you're not this and that,
Mm.
And so I do love, like, part of the shift is that, you can work your side hustle, it can be a passion project, it can be whatever. But you still have because some people are not made to be entrepreneurs, and
Right.
some people, yes, like Planet,
Black
yes.
Planet.
And some people, really enjoy their day job, but they also like, hey, Juanita. Some people enjoy their day job, and some
Right.
people, are not, just like on the side. Like, what I had to come to grips is that I'm multi-passionate. I like a lot of things, and just because um I don't make a lot of money doing this one thing that I enjoy doesn't make me a failure.
Right.
And
Right.
I like what you said about having specific hours. It's like we need to set boundaries around our time so that we can enjoy our lives.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I'm just I'm so I'm so glad that that message is shifting.
I am
But I
too.
also see something else that is kind of just concerning to me, and I mentioned this in a live I did, is that the pandemic really amplified it, but I started noticing it before, is that we have a lot of content creators,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so, but when you're a content creator, I mean, that's your full-time job. That is a hustle. Like, you
Mhm.
might frown at me because I clock in from, 9 to 5 or whatever, but when you are stuck in front of your computer or editing or staging or making content or different thing like that, that's a hustle. And that's based on algorithms, and that's
Yeah.
based on sponsorship. So you
Mhm.
working for somebody,
You're
you know
working
what I
for
mean?
somebody. Yeah.
And you hear I used to didn't understand when they say their primary job was a YouTuber, but then they were burned out, like they had to take a break. And you're like, what? But because there's this whole study about it, about people who are content creators, who that's all that they do, and they are, working for the algorithm. And I'm not saying that that's everybody, but it can get into a hustle and a grind. That's not a good quality of life.
It's not. It's equivalent to a job that you really don't want to go to,
Mhm,
but there's that benefit, and that benefit is the job, is the check at the end of
mhm,
the week or the end of a 2 week period. So yeah, I don't think they think about that specifically because of the reward of the paycheck.
mhm,
And I
mhm.
think that as a whole, we need to shift our minds away from only seeing success in terms of how much we're able to earn. Um,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
I actually thought that the pandemic would have taught us that more um, easily. But I think to a degree, a lot of people have gotten that because I think they have termed 2021 the Great Resignation.
Resignation, yeah.
And because people realize that although I'm home all day with my children and they're screaming in ways that are like 5 or 6 hours as opposed to 2 or 3 in the evening, I
Mhm.
like being here. I like
Mhm.
being here, making sure that they're safe. I like having more time with my family in general.
Mhm.
And I think that's what partially prompted the great resignation. So there is an awakening to the idea that we're doing all of this to provide for ourselves and our family, but we don't want to do it away from them for the number of hours we were previously doing it. You know,
Right.
we want to shorten the time outside of the house so that we can spend more time in the house or with those who we love, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I
and it's
and
a shift.
I love that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No, no,
off.
no, go on, go on.
I love that, but I wanna make sure that we're not replacing. Okay, so we're not getting up and going to the job, right? But we're not leaving the house, which, we're in a pandemic, but we're not leaving the house. We're not, even if we're working on our business, we're in front of the computer for so many hours a day. We're sedentary, we're eating more. I just want, if we're not going to be leaving out and going to the job, um, I want us to be at least creating healthier habits.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my concern, is that the time that you're at home, like, push back from the fridge.
Right.
And,
Now
you
here's the nurse. The nurse is on deck,
you
okay?
know, so stand up from that computer, while you're on those calls. Stand up while you're talking, or, you know, get your steps in. Those are the things that because that's quality of life too. Because just because you're not going, sitting you're not working for the man 9 to 5 or whatever, um, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a better quality of life. And that's what we're going for, is greater quality of life.
No, I'm glad you paused there. That's necessary. We'll accept that, right? We will accept that from our resident medical expert, because she's saying what for me wasn't said enough during the height of the pandemic. I
Mhm.
can tell you though, I was walking every day. I had gotten up to 4 miles, but you have to keep moving. It's good for your brain to keep your
Absolutely.
brain healthy. And I can tell you though, I'm gonna be very honest with you, and some of those who are here with us tonight, they know I move so quickly. I do so much. I really have not missed a whole lot of going. I definitely have not missed that, and I
Mhm.
haven't really missed a lot of contact with others. It's not that I don't like people, but I had too much. I feel I had too much. So this is in a way a vacation also. It has been
Mhm.
somewhat of a vacation, but I totally understand what you're saying. We need to not forget about our health needs and our physical needs. But we
Mhm.
all know, Tangie, most of us gained at least 20 pounds during the pandemic. I mean, oh, see it, but what you're saying, I'm trying to stay with the right
Uh-huh.
mindset.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We can do things, we can move, and make sure that we're not binge eating, we're not
Mhm.
eating late at night, and we're working, even we're moving rather, we're getting some steps in even in the
Mhm.
house if we
Even
have
in the
to.
Yeah.
Things are loosening up, but and so we don't have to be quite as creative, so we're able to go back out, move a little bit, drink
Mhm.
your water. Those are the type of things you're trying to
That's
impress
all I'm
upon.
saying. But I will say this too, and I say this at work, because I don't think that that the half has been told of the repercussions of this pandemic on us emotionally. We
Yes.
know physically about the weight that may have been gained, but the emotional toll of being in quarantine, and having activities canceled and stuff, like, it seems like a first world problem. But we're meant to be relational creatures, even if you consider yourself like not really a people person, or not you, but what I'm saying,
Yeah, yeah,
but but in general, we're relationally poor anyway, because of all the social media and things like that. We have all these connections online, but we don't know how to speak to people in a restaurant. You know what I mean? Different things like that.
yes.
That's another tangent.
Mhm,
But I said that
mhm.
to say is that we have to give ourselves a break of the fallout of the pandemic, in that we gained the weight. whatever. All kinds of
Mhm.
things happen
Mhm.
because it was a very traumatic event that we moved through as a nation, as a people, as a culture. All of that was super, super traumatic. So we have to give ourselves a break in that we picked up the extra weight or, different things like that. But all I'm saying is now let's try. I don't, it's not over, but like you said, things are loosening up. So let's just try to refocus and think about just quality of life moving forward.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because it sort of brings me to my next point. And I want to share this, and I shared this with Tangie because what she just said is beginning to be addressed. A UN report conducted last year concluded that with the onset of the pandemic, Black women, everybody, Black women disproportionately faced greater strains on financial, physical, and mental health, yet are expected
mhm,
through pernicious social constructs, as we were speaking about earlier, to be pillars of strength.
mhm,
I mean, let that sink in, everybody. The UN Women's Assembly conducted this study last year. And as Tangie just said, the full truth has not
mhm,
began to be studied. The toll that is ultimately going to have on us has not been assessed yet. But I do appreciate the UN addressing how
mhm,
much emotional trauma Black women
mhm,
experience and,
mhm,
and continue to experience. So,
mhm,
Tangie, I can honestly say, I don't know why I'm getting tongue tied this tonight. This
mhm,
subject is very important to me, for one thing.
mhm, mhm,
But I can honestly say that not only have I witnessed this with other women, but there's great resonance with myself for
mhm.
what they have found in their study. Can we speak about that a little bit too? About
Yeah.
what the UN said?
So I just want to share a personal story. I don't think I've publicly even talked about this really, but I think it goes in line to what we've been talking about earlier about our expectations. And so I think this is you commented on this on my post on Twitter, and we just had this conversation. But so my mom passed away in May of last year, and I'm the oldest, and I have two younger brothers. And I was finishing grad school, and she's in California. I'm here in Georgia, and emotionally tapped out, completely tapped out at the end. Worked through the pandemic, took care of coronavirus patients in grad school, all the things, right? And then my mom passes away. Um, and I thought she lived with my younger brother. So I, for some reason, thought that I was just going to go and support like whatever decision they wanted to make as far as the services and different things like that. I was just going to go support, right? Because I didn't have any emotional bandwidth to even. And they were looking to me.
Mm.
Why were they looking to me? Because I always come through. And you know what I was doing at the viewing? Greeting people. I'm making sure they're okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing an obituary while I'm writing my discussion board post for school. So, but that was the expectation. And like usual, I rose to the occasion. When I look back on that, what did that cost me? You know? And so I think that part of the reason why we suffer so many layers, I mean, layers and layers and layers that we didn't even have time to discuss, but part of it is the expectation. The expectation is that we're going to show up because that's what we do, because we don't feel like we have any choice.
Absolutely.
And also, we went into this with fragmented resources, not money, because we got money. We didn't went in with fragmented resources. We don't often have emotional support. We often don't have I would say relational support, so that if we have the kids, so we could take the time off that we need to take off, or we don't have the PTO built up, we don't have different things built, our resources are maxed out. So when we come in and they're telling us that they're closing down for 2 weeks, 2 months, we don't have the reserve. We don't have the emotional reserve. We don't have the relational reserve. We don't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, it is Yes, yes, absolutely. Trying to make sure everybody's feel is okay, at my detriment. So that's a personal example of why this pandemic has affected us so much. Is because we just we're not behind. We hadn't behind the scenes built up resources and reserves before we went into this pandemic, and that's where I'm standing on the mountaintop and screaming. Is like, sis, you got to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
like for you. Everybody else is going to benefit once you take care of you. It's not selfish. We got to do better with that.
We do. We do. And I don't so I shared with Tangie, but I'm not going to go too deeply into it. I'm just sort of letting your story resonate with me, because there is resonance again with your story. But what I find is, and this is not the case with me, and everybody who knows me and my two, it's not the case with me. I'm happy to see them spreading their wings. Um, 20, look, 18, what, 20, because he's still, they're both in the home. So 22, almost 23 years is a very long time to pour all that you have into, not
Mhm.
all, but most of what you have into two other living beings at the
Mhm.
level. I mean, there are choices. You can just be like, okay, hit the road jack type parent,
Right,
or
right.
you could just really be there being supportive. And I am grateful to say that that modeling from my mother towards me and my three sisters, Juanita being my oldest sister, was perfect for my passing on to them. Am I tired? No, but I do recognize that it's almost my time. I really recognize that. And I don't want to be all over the place. It's not going to be like some major party, because I still have the family.
Mhm.
There's still my
Mhm.
husband, there's still my son, there's still my daughter, but there's also Deborah. And I've never felt like there's Deborah. I've
Mhm.
never felt that before. And
Mhm.
that's a sad commentary,
Mhm.
because we're so busy giving, giving, giving to
Mhm.
others. What do you give to you? And I'm just talking about still going to sleep. I'm just recently getting to the point where I'll go to sleep before they are asleep. I'll wake up, I mean, I'm going to sleep saying good night, and they're
Mhm.
just playing and laughing with each
Mhm.
other. But it's very recent, and that's
Mhm.
very sad,
I don't think that's sad. I think you've been a gift to them. And I think it's your time to be a gift to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to find that it's going to be kind of weird, and you're going to go through a gamut of emotions, but you have to just keep telling yourself that you deserve it. You
Mm-hmm.
absolutely deserve it, and I don't think that we tell ourselves that enough,
Yeah.
for a lot of different messagings that we get, but you deserve that. You deserve it. You deserve it for them, because they need to see healthy mama. They want their children to have a healthy grandma, but you deserve it for you, so that you can have that great vacation that you haven't had by yourself. And so, you know what I'm saying, that just for so many reasons. And I think that we don't tap into we don't I think you spoke about it earlier about the hope. It's
Yeah.
like, just joy. Those are things that, we attach to things and other people, but what about it just for you? Like,
Yeah.
just for
Yeah.
you, just to love on you. So
Yeah.
that's an exciting time for you.
I look, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, I think it's something, I think hope has to be restored. It hasn't received a high premium in the life of Black women.
Mhm.
What are we hopeful for? And I in no way live vicariously through my children. I just wanted to give them more, right? To give them
Absolutely.
better. But
Absolutely.
the hope for, I know and I accept that I'm on the downside of life. I get
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But how will that look? And I would love to see Black women start to consider that seriously. How is the rest of your life going to look to you? Will you approve of that life?
Oh, yes, that's good.
You know,
Write that down.
write it down, write
That's
it
it. Right.
down. Yeah,
And that's something that that of course I turned 50 last year, so I am like
welcome to
really
it.
thank you. But definitely, you get half a century old and you start really thinking about legacy
Yeah,
and what is it that you want to leave to the next generation. And also, what kind of life do you want to have? Like, I don't want to be one of those kind of people that retire and then all of these ailments, I start having all these ailments or,
right.
different things like that because I can't enjoy it. So I'm thinking about, for me to in 10 years at 60 to have a certain quality of life, I got to sow those seeds right now at 50. And
Yes,
so I think it's hard for us because we've been in survival mode so long and we've been in the struggle, grind, hustle, and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's just time for us just to pull back,
yeah,
you know, and set some boundaries, say no, and really start take care of ourselves so that in 10 years, we can just really be enjoying our lives because of the decisions we're making today.
absolutely. And I think that takes a lot of deliberation, and
Oh,
that's not something that we give ourselves, right?
right,
You know,
right. Because that's work.
it is
Like
work.
who is so work? Like I remember I started therapy um the beginning of 2020 before we knew about the pandemic, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, I would tell her, especially when stuff started getting super hard, I was like, I don't even feel like this today. Like, I'd rather just go get a pint of ice cream and get on the couch. You know what I mean? Because to do emotional work is work, it's
It's work.
hard work. And so we rather deflect, we rather walk around it, but our emotional and spiritual health is the foundation of our lives. And so we can't neglect that. And so sometimes I just didn't really have the energy to show up and do the work. So that's kind of why we deflected a lot because yeah,
Yeah,
it's work.
it's work that we've never really been given the opportunity to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a friend whose son successfully defended his dissertation, and he is a material scientist doctor today. But at the same time, while I was very elated for her and him and their family, guess what? I needed to talk to her. I felt the need to talk to her.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
this harkens back to what you said before. We have not pre-built in the infrastructure to support us when we feel a need emotionally. And so we
Absolutely.
find ourselves out there alone. Now, you have your different people who you may go to. Well, she's my special friend for specific things, as you, I'm sure, as many people do. I know who to go to for this. I always
Mhm,
tell my children, there are three sisters. They have three aunts. I will tell them which aunt to call for this, that, or the other.
mhm,
You know how we
mhm.
all play
Yeah.
a role.
Right.
And it's just ironic that her son was having this monumental day for himself and their family, and I, her friend, was in need of her ear. But guess
Mhm,
what? We need more than the one person.
mhm,
We do,
mhm.
because I couldn't infringe on their celebration to
Right.
talk, have her listen to me. And
Right.
it wasn't anything really, really heavy, but it just made me think about it in preparation for tonight. We need to build, like we build our teams for our businesses, we need
Yes.
to build a team for emotional and spiritual and physical support so that we can
Absolutely.
remain healthy.
Absolutely. We need that community. And I think again that goes back to so many things, but us not feeling safe enough that like I'm a relational person, and so if I meet you, I'm coming in with the best intentions, but everyone's not like that. And sometimes I'll start a conversation and then it'll go a certain way, and I'll say, I automatically shut it down. I'm like, we're not the same, you
Yeah.
know? And so, um, but it takes a lot of work to get to build those kind of communities and those kind of friendships, and again, the word work. And so, I just rather not. But it's so important to have accountability. I have a group of ladies that I'm accountable for in our physical health, and we support each other other ways too. But that is when we support each other, because that is so needed.
Yes.
We need that communal sisterhood, but there's so much mistrust within our
Yeah.
community, and we don't feel safe and we don't feel vulnerable enough, and just different things like that. And so I love what you said, that you knew that it wasn't your time
Yeah.
to, but
Right.
at the same time, like what a gift it is to come to her, because she may not have felt like, how do you say, you can't tell everybody your blessings, you know what I'm saying? She might not, and plus she might not have felt like she had anyone who could fully understand the sacrifice that it took for her to support her son in that. And if
Right.
you understand defending dissertations and all that kind of stuff, it's great to be connected to somebody in that way. And so sometimes we do just have to show up as a gift, and
Yes.
just be a gift to them. And I have some girlfriends, and when we get together, we was like, okay, we're together like 3 or 4 nights. It was like, okay, tonight is my night. So tonight I get to say all my stuff. Y'all get to love on me tonight.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is your night,
Mhm.
because we need that. We need to create those safe communities with
Do.
one another,
Oh,
So,
you
yeah.
hit it. You hit it, and I love it because we're here. We're really here, and I think that even as we discuss emotional trauma, it's not all bad. It's like what you just described with you and your girlfriends. Tonight is my night. I
Mhm.
and those nights have to be a part of it. They have to be a part of the rules of getting together. Look,
Mhm.
we're gonna kick it. We're gonna have fun, but I need to dump, and
Mhm.
this is my time to dump. You all
Mhm.
need to be here for
Mhm.
the dumping, and I think you need to create. And when I say you, I mean all of us. We
Yeah.
need to create these safe environments. And guess what? Like you said, everybody cannot be invited into those
Right.
spaces. We have
Right.
to be very careful. And I always use the word discernment.
Mhm.
I go through that similar experience. I could be vibing with somebody, and then either I'll say something and it doesn't resonate with them, or they'll say something. And I'm like, okay. So then the conversation becomes more cordial rather than
Mhm.
a build.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
can't build with everyone, and we need to also be comfortable with that realization as well.
Right. But I think sometimes we stop there. How
Yeah.
many times, we may have said it, but we say, oh, we work with a bunch of women, or, women can't get along. Right.
Yeah.
And I always try to dispel that.
Yeah.
So we stop at, you can't build with everybody, or you can't, tell everybody your business or whatever. We stop
Yeah.
there. And that is absolutely true. You cannot, and you need to have discernment. So you need to know that. But also, maybe you couldn't build with her, or maybe you couldn't with her, but the sister over there,
Absolutely.
be open enough to connect with her. And I can be honest and say is that sometimes I thought we was like, vibing, and because we had a lot of similar interests and we talk about the same things. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, cool, cool, cool. And then God will be like, mm-mm.
Not for you. Yeah.
And I'm like, but she, mm-mm.
Yeah.
And then over time, I get to see, oh man, but that doesn't discourage me from wanting to connect, because I understand the power of community, and sisterhood. I absolutely love it. So I always try to dispel the myth that we can't get along.
Right.
I don't think that's
No. Oh
true.
yeah. I think that's definitely a fallacy, and but too many of us have bought into it. I
Hmm.
have never. I There was a period in my life where I was like, okay, I have enough friends. I don't want any more friends. I wanted to manage them,
Uh-huh.
but but I also know that the sister I'm talking about, that was just God put us together. That
Hmm.
was God put us together. We knew each other casually, but
Hmm.
the strength of the bond has grown over the years. But
Hmm.
if I had kept that same mindset, I don't need any more friends. I'm trying to
Hmm.
manage these, trying to keep up with them. I never
Right.
would have met her. And so I typically remain open, but my antennas of discernment, they remain high because I'm
Mhm.
already bringing a whole bunch of junk that I haven't necessarily successfully dealt with into this new situation, and I don't need to make it worse. So yes, I'm enjoying this. I feel like we should do it again. Let it be some type of an ongoing conversation if you want, because
I would love that.
we need this. And I'm trying to talk Tangie into diving into Twitter Spaces with me for us to give those sisters over there the same opportunity as we've given here tonight, because I think that if the UN has taken time out to focus on Black women, shouldn't Black women also do the
Take
same?
time.
At the
At
very least, take
Yes.
out time to talk with each other and to go over some of these things that are deeply personal, without always being deeply personal. I was in a spaces last night where the sister, she really needed to, in order to get the help. That's fine, but
Mhm,
we just want to build a community of safety for one another. And
mhm, mhm.
I'm happy to do this with Tangie again because I think it's that important.
Thank you. I would love to. I would love to because we didn't even scratch the surface. So
We
yeah, I
didn't.
would love
We
to.
like all around.
Yeah.
We're trying to bake the cake, and we're just getting the ingredients together. But
Mhm.
listen, I would love. I've have on the screen, everyone, how you can reach Tangie. Join. I'm gonna mess it up again. Healthy Sisters Rock. Is that right?
Yes, that's my yeah, you can on Facebook. So if you look me up under my name, Tangie Henry, you'll find everything that I do.
Awesome. And please connect with her because, she has like over 5,000 people on Twitter. I have over 8,000 people. For us to have been able to find each other and do this tonight, that is no short of God being instrumental in bringing us together like that.
Mhm,
And we have so much in common, but we are both committed to this subject of emotional trauma with Black women, and trying to do whatever we can in any small way to help
mhm.
you. And hopefully you all help us as well. So
Absolutely.
Tangie, you get the last word after I set up for next week. So next week, everybody, we will not be here on Tuesday because I will be supporting my biological sister as she receives one of the highest honors from the UFT in New York City for the work that she does in technology. So, Juanita Presley,
Congratulations.
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 And so I won't be here on Tuesday, but I will be here on Wednesday with my guest who will be talking to us about government funding. Now, that may be boring to a lot of people, but if you are a business owner and you want to have access to these multi-million dollar contracts, you
Mhm.
probably want to come in and speak, listen to Miss Beverly present how to do that. I think I heard her say that her husband received a grant from the federal government. I don't know which branch, to make barbecue for real, y'all. I mean, I'll ask her next week. These are things that we don't think about. But if you
Right,
have a killer recipe for barbecue, they
right.
will fund you. So let's not shortchange ourselves. Come back on next Wednesday at 7 o'clock to meet Miss Beverly and tell somebody about it. You don't know who the blessing is for when you don't share. So please
Right.
do that. Tangie, give us some words as we get ready to shut down.
Ah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute honor. I am super passionate about Black women being whole and healthy because we have been the mules of society for so long.
Yes.
We carry a lot. And so I just want us to, as we begin to evaluate where we are and all this going on in the world, I just want us to take some time to take care of ourselves. It's fine without getting our hair done and pedicures and manicures and all that kind of stuff, but I really just want you to take some time and take care of your emotional health. And take care, get you some emotional vocabulary, learn how to connect with other people so that you can have good resources, relational resources, so that you can thrive and be healthy and whole from the inside out.
Yes, yes, yes. And let me tell you, you have introduced a term that I'm sure I'm not alone in saying is a new one for me, emotional vocabulary. Now look, some people who are close to us, they may not like it as we develop this
Mhm.
emotional vocabulary and begin to use it, but I think that she's absolutely right in suggesting that we get some beyond tired and beyond okay, because
Mhm.
guess what? We're really not okay. We're saying that for the world so that we can continue to do all the things that we've allowed ourselves to become responsible for without ever really taking care of ourselves. So thank you so much, Tangie. This has been
Thank you for
great.
having me. Yes.
Don't leave, Tangie. Good night, Black Talk Platform family. Hope to see you back here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. God bless you all and stay safe.